welcome to the AFS Technologies Monthly Learning Series. Thank you to all for joining us today. My name's Ian Faith, and I will be hosting today's session entitled The Importance of Date Control in WMS. Before we get started, I'd just like to go over how to participate in today's event. You'll have the opportunity to submit questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We'll collect your questions and make them available during the Q&A section at the end of today's presentation. As a reminder, you will also be sent a copy of this presentation within 24 hours of the end of the webinar. In today's webinar, Fran Rifkin, the WMS Product Manager at AFS, will be talking to Sean Brown, the Warehouse Manager from Give & Go in Toronto, Canada. Let me give you a bit of background on Give & Go. Great people baking great products for a great future. As a trusted manufacturer of baked goods operating for over 25 years, providing innovative, quality bakery solutions that meet customer needs, whether it's convenience, increased efficiency, creative product offerings, and of course, growing sales. With an extensive product selection and portfolio of successful brands, they cover all needs from bite-sized delights under the best-selling 2Bite brand, decadent indulgences under Kimberly's Bake Shop, feel-good snacks under Mason Street Bakehouse, or traditional treats that are good to the last crumb under the Worthy Crumb Pastry Company. They work with leading retailers around the world to co-brand, supply, and assist in the development of their own or private label initiatives. They have a real passion for doing it right. We know that quality and commitment to food safety has to be there every time. That's why they have a state-of-the-art in-house quality assurance lab and have worked hard to be certified by major quality organizations that reflect their credibility in the industry and provide customers with the peace of mind that they expect. Currently, International Food Safety SQF Level 3, Core Kosher, and OU Dairy certified. At Give & Go, they believe that how they create and deliver their treats is a big part of what makes them so good and so popular. They strive to be true partners with their team members, customers, and those who enjoy their creations, one bite at a time. Fran, Sean, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, we should call this the fire and ice because we're here in Phoenix with 90 degrees and you're up there in Toronto, Sean, in the single digits.
Yeah, the temperature today is -7 here, so.
Balmy. So Sean Brown is the warehouse manager at Give & Go. The DC manager at Give & Go prepared foods for the past 3 years. Over 18 years of experience in the 3PL, PWR industry, managed large key accounts from McCain's, Cargill, Labatt Breweries, General Mills, Canada Bread, and Nestle. Fran Rifkin, who's joining him today, is the WMS Product Manager at AFS Technologies. As the WMS Product Manager, Fran works closely with the WMS teams and new product development. Fran has 20-plus years of assistance with companies to implement WMS systems, along with contributing to customer service and support. So management of warehouse inventory with expiration dates is critical to the efficient operation of a warehouse facility and important in protecting bottom line margins. This webinar will cover date control with visibility for expiring inventory, date encoding and scanning to rotate oldest first. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Fran and Sean.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ian. So I'm just going to start off with a little bit about who we are, as Ian alluded to in the previous slides here. We are a Canadian manufacturer of baked goods, supplying retailers in the food service industry. We have an extensive product selection and successful brands, covering decadent cupcakes, granola snacks, and assorted and baked treats. From our production facility, we receive 7.5 million cases a year and close to 150,000 pallets annually. Our customers are located in Canada and the U.S., and we ship approximately 160 truckloads each week. The majority of those going to the U.S. About 140 of those 160 trucks will travel to the U.S. Okay, from the next slide, please. We are an SQF level 3 certified. With existing regulations that mandate food safety. We strive for excellence to maximize food safety. 100% of what we manufacture are baked goods requiring lot traceability and ability to show lot history and perform a lot recall within a 2-hour window for any shipment. Ensures proper rotation to ship oldest produced items first. Better customer service by allowing certain customers newer inventory. Better visibility to inventory aging, ensures inventory past dates are not shipped to customers and allows us to float out all the close to expired product and increase savings with less expired food. What is our process for dated product? So, our first step is out of the 4 steps, we receive and put away finished goods from our production plant. We ship to customers. We handle returned merchandise and managing our inventory and lot recall. Okay, so our first step is receiving. So when we receive product from our production facility, we put a license plate on it or a pallet tag. It's printed on demand when we receive that into our ERP. So you can see the yellow tag on the side here. Our operators have a WMS RF handheld, so they scan all the different levels on the barcode. So they scan the sequential LPN. They scan the part number, which you can see is the second line there, the quantity, and we scan the lots. For that day's production, we run a Julian date code. So in this instance, we are 16035, which is the 35th day of 2016. And our WMS will automatically convert the Julian manufacturing date plus the product shelf life. We stage that for all of our products at 150 days. And that'll be for the selling date. So then our second step is a picking for our customers. So our picking is 60% cases and 40% full pallets. We have system-directed picking with RF to pick location with oldest inventory. So everything we do here is FIFO. We have non-dedicated pick locations. Locations hold multiple pallets, single, double, and triple deep locations. And we also have a pallet swap window, which allows picker to take newer lot for same item within 7 days of the customer's needs. It forces picker to move newer inventory if more than 7 days. Picker scans pallet they are taking from, ensuring system knows exact lot was selected for traceability. And then our loader scans each pallet onto the truck, ensuring system knows the lot went to the customer. And all of that is done using that same LP from the previous slide. We also have a returns program in place where customer service generates an RMA order and item returned. A WMS gets the RMA order. A new pallet tag will be printed with the information from the pallet. It'll be all of the information that came back on the product. Operator with WMS RF scans label to receive item with original lot. QC inspects item. If sellable, item returned to stock with proper rotation based on original lot number. If there are issues, hold status places on inventory for disposition.
Yeah, and Sean, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just a quick question. When you showed us when you were receiving that lot, I think when we talked earlier too, you mentioned that if they return they break they bring back a case, it doesn't have your yellow corner label. Your cases are also imprinted with a lot code they can use to identify the product, correct?
Exactly. We have a box lot code, and we have an inside on the actual product are the lot codes as well. So we don't accept back. We only sell by the full box. We don't break pack anything here, so it's much easier for us to do receiving.
Yep. So if the product's good, it ensures it goes back in the proper rotation. So it'll be the next thing that you ship out of your warehouse if it is old.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, with our inventory, our WMS service automatically places expired status for inventory past expiration date. which is the selling date, making it not available to customers. So when our product goes on hold, after the 150-day mark, the system will not allocate those products unless we remove the hold. Different customers have different parameters. WMS gets a liquidation order for expired status inventory to secondary retailers. And some of the things we're working on is we're creating new liquidation order type for better visibility and ensuring only expired status inventory is selected for those orders. And those are for customers that are going to blow inventory out very quickly. Okay, some of our processes here. Our reporting provides queries for aging. We can look any given time on what products we have that are coming close to expiry. Lot recall and transaction detail by lot reports. Inventory status by report as well. Lot control, difficult before we had our WMS, and now that we have our WMS, it's extremely easy. We're just going through our SQF level 3 audit. We had a mock recall, and we were pulling out we were tracing our product as far back as 6 months in just under 15 minutes. So we do see a lot of benefits from our WMS and the lot control functions within it.
All right, so I can pass off now. My piece, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that Sean just covered, his process at Give and Go. So some of the things I'd like to show you now in the WMS. One thing is GS1, how that can be another way to easily capture date with a single scan. And so I'm going to show you, I know we've talked about this before, different webinars. I'm going to go in the system and show you some examples. And then one of the things that Give and Go, Sean just mentioned they do is the decoding. And then some of the things that he also mentioned, like ordering by date, to be able to give customers newer inventory, intentionally go out of that date rotation, or the swap window. So like the example, they had set for 7 days. If you wanted to be able to say, if it's close enough to go ahead and let them swap, to prevent them from having to now move inventory to get to the older inventory, as long as it's within an acceptable range. And then, as you mentioned, like with his expired inventory, to like second retailers, using maybe an order type to pull status. And then some of just the reporting examples in WMS. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to segue here to our WMS. And so hopefully you can see I have my RF simulator open on my screen. So I'm showing you what you would actually see on an RF device. And again, I set up a couple of examples to show you, like with receiving and with date control. So I'm going to start, so with inbound, I'm going to go to receiving. So I'm going to hit enter to select receive. And I'm going to go ahead and set pallet. Excuse me. So there are different ways to do receiving in the system. What I'm showing you is true for whether you're doing it by pallet or by item. I'm going to go ahead and enter, like here I would scan my order or door to start receiving. All right, so it knows I'm receiving this order. I'm at stage 1 on the dock. And I'm going to go ahead and put down just an empty pallet first so I can start my receiving. So there's my first pallet. So in this first pallet, the supplier provided a barcode on the inventory. So let's say this is a GS1. And by GS1, it's a smart barcode. It has more than just an item code. It has other information that's part of that barcode. It could be a lot, a date, different kinds of dates. And so based on the AI, the identifier in front of the data, we know what it is, whether that's a production date, and we have to add the shelf life, like with Give and Go, the 150 days, to make that into an expiration date, or if that's the expiration date, so we know which field in WMS we're populating with that one single scan. And so here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to scan my GS1 label. All right, and here, I'm going to go ahead and enter my quantity. And this was really smart. I liked how Give and Go, their label, they had a barcode for quantity, so they don't have to type it in. So like if every time I know I'm getting a full pallet, I just have a barcode. Or if it's included in the GS1 label, it can also extract it. So in this case, I'm going to tell the system I've got 50. Now here, this is an example. I did this intentionally. So you can see that if your product's under date control, we can stop or warn them if it's either expired or it's even getting close to expiring. So in this example, it is expired January 24th. So I hit enter. And then because of my permission, I actually, maybe as a manager, I can override it. So if it's close to expiring, but I know I can ship it back out, I might continue. If it's definitely, no, it's expired, or the person does not have permission, it would just stop them. It would not let them receive it. So I'm going to try this again with the GS1 that I know is not expired. And again, I'm entering my quantity. So now I've just created, with that one scan, I created the 50 cases of strawberries. So I'm going to pull up the workstation, and I'm going to refresh my location. So you can see here are the strawberries I just received. If I edit it, you can see the other data that I also pulled out of that one scan. So as an example, my product for the strawberries, it's under lot control and it's under date control. And then based on the scan, it knew that this was the lot encoded in that barcode, and it knew this was the expiration date. Or it could have been that it had a production date that I decoded, and I made that into my expiration date. Now I can actually see my date code is grayed out. It was just a straight, I took it right off the label, the lot and the date. Okay, I'm going to do another example. This time my example is going to have the decoding, so you can see what that looks like. So I'm going to put down another palette. Okay, so this is palette 2. This one I'm going to receive, it's a cheese loaf, and this one I'm going to pull out a date. So I'm scanning my item. So here, if I have a UPC barcode, any product barcode, I'm going to scan that. And again, I'm going to enter my quantity. So here, it's asking me for a lot. In this example, my lot is going to, I'm going to decode it to make that my expiration date. So in this example, my cheese loaf, it got manufactured, and as part of that lot barcode, it includes, similar to Give and Go, to the lot code, it has, like, say, a Julian date. It may even have additional information that's part of that lot code, like the manufacturing plant, maybe it's date and time stamp. I don't need to go down to the time for this lot, for this date. It's like additional information. So I can map it to say which characters I ignore for the date, and which ones are specifically I need to pull to get my date. And it could be a production date that I now add that 150, whatever that product shelf life is. So it's unique by product, and I'll add that to make that my expiration date. And I can see I'm being told here what the mapping is. So I have a visual. But I'm going to scan my lot code. All right, and there's my cheese loaf. So if I refresh again, I can see there's the 50 cheese American loaf. So here, there's my lot code. And I decided, in this example, it was just a straight Julian date plus year. But again, it could have been a longer lot code with more information. And I just tell the system what parts I'm ignoring. And so it's February, today's date. The 24th day of the year is February 17th. 16 is my year, 2016. It added a 150, and it made the expiration date June 22nd. Okay. So that's kind of just to give you a feel for, like, GS1 scanning to get that information, the decoding. And again, like, there's configuration screens. You can have more than one. You map it to either the product supplier or at the supplier level. So there's a lot of flexibility. But again, the less you have them key in, and they can just scan or even just type in a Julian date, they don't have to try to do the math. It's much more accurate, less error prone, and just increasing their productivity. You see much faster the more you scan. So then the next thing I was going to show you, just real quick, again, just to kind of give you a flavor of some of the different things in the system. We're going to move now to the picking side, to outbound. So I got here a sales order, just as an example. So it comes down through your host ERP system or through some import. as part of when they place the order, they can specify. So instead of leaving the date blank, so again, like let's see, I've got my American cheese loaf. I can see there's a date on the order. So instead of just leaving it blank, it goes in the normal date rotation, they could specify newer inventory. And by doing that, the system will force that I can only select that newer product or better. Like I can't do the expired, I can't do the older inventory if it's not within that date. So it's just the system, it lets you, like for like a container going overseas, for warehouse transfer, there may be cases where you want to dictate what that is. All right. I'm going to take a quick segue just to show you just a little peek at the product master behind this. So like here I have, this is my American cheese loaf. So you can see like receiving, where lot date control. Most of the time, if you're going to rotate if you're going to go the trouble of capturing the expiration date, you do want to rotate on the expiration date, take advantage of that. And then the other information we mentioned, the shelf life to take that manufacturing or production date and turn that into an expiration date. The receive life is key because that tells you how close you are to expiring. So what's nice is I can run a service in the system that every day it checks and it looks at your real inventory and says, okay, what are my expiration dates based on today's date and this product information, so this product receive life, am I getting close to that expiration? And it can automatically put a status on, say close to code. It's still allocatable, but it gives you the visibility. So for example, here I have like close to code as a status. Here I have expired as a status. Expired is if it actually is now past that expiration date. Maybe expired means it's not allocatable, but you've got that order type that's just for expired. Like that second retailers, that's okay, they can get it. And so you're intentionally pulling just based on status. So you ensure that someone doesn't get something that's expired that shouldn't, only those order types. And so for example, so I mentioned the service, it can run every day, it can check your inventory. So now I can go, excuse me, to my workstation, I can run a report, say here report by inventory by status, close to code. And this tells me everything right now that I can still pick it, but it gives me that visibility. So I can see the aging. I can see, oh, yep, I've got these Fuji apples. They're going to expire in a couple of days. I know I want to make sure that my customer service, that they're aware of this and they're really trying to push so that I can get those Fuji apples out before they expire. And then same thing, I can pull up this report again. I can say, show me expired. And again, this just shows me anything that is now past due, and the system's automatically putting these statuses on. I can always come back in and I can change it. So I can do a product lookup. I can change my lot at an individual pallet level, at a location level, or even everything for a product lot. If let's say I need to, like a recall, I need to put everything on a hold to make sure nothing goes out. So a lot of visibility here. Really quick, I mentioned the order types. Just as another way to manage your date-controlled products. So, for example, you know, and Sean mentioned this at Give and Go. They've got an inbound order, say, for return merchandise. What's neat about the order types and status is that this product's come back maybe before I can decide whether this inventory can go back out again. I need someone to QC it. So this inventory, this return inbound, I can automatically put a quality control status to ensure that it gets checked, and if it's sellable, they take off that status. If there's a problem, I can change it to expired and it goes out on my expired order, or I can say that expired order cannot get either a quality control or an expired status. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this. And just to show you that on the outbound side, I created this like a liquidation merchandise order. And so same thing, like here I can say only certain statuses. Right. So I kind of showed you some of the reporting that ties into that, you know, my service that can run. And that service is just task scheduler. So for example here, and you can decide how often the service runs. you can decide whether you want to do both examples with the close to code and the expired, or just one, or it identifies which reasons. So you can configure, you know, what for your operation makes sense. But again, this automatically runs and it updates your inventory. It gives you that nice visibility. And I'm going to just close talking about reporting. I mentioned the WMS. We have a lot of reports. And what's new in these last version, we've started to do more with SRS, and we continue to expand on that. So this is in your definitely your 2014 version. Even from here, I can launch this. But what's nice is, as a manager, I can, from an internet browser, I can pull up certain reports. So for example, you give them, let's say, permission. So only with permission, I could log in. I see a tree of reports, and I can drill in, and I can open a report, say inventory by status here from SRS through an internet browser, not requiring someone to get on a workstation with WMS. And so that same report you saw me pull up, I can look at here, and I can see what's getting close to expiring, and that same aging. And even like with the SRS, I can do schedules, and I can have like alerts, so I know, oh, you know, this inventory is getting close. So that nice visibility, making sure that you're on top of the inventory that's expiring. All right, so I think, I mean, there's a lot. I don't want to overwhelm. Hopefully this was of interest. Any questions? Maybe I'll pass it back now to Ian. Any questions we can definitely, Sean or I can answer.
Yeah, Fran, if you want to throw it over to that question screen on the other presentation.
Okay.
And let me have a look in our questions pane for questions coming in. And again, if anyone has any further questions, now's the time to fire away. Obviously, taking for granted, you can still reach out to Fran or Sean post-presentation as well with any specific questions. But Sean, you may be able to answer this one. Can you talk to maybe time savings from using the WMS system to handle expired product?
Sure. Yeah. So before we went to our WMS, we were doing things very, very manually here. There was a big process and a gap in between when our QC department would call us and ask us to put stuff on QC hold or QA hold or system hold. And now with our WMS, that allows us to do that immediately through email. It takes away the physical aspect of it and the keying strokes that were involved with our previous system. As well with now that we're dealing with expired lots, we have everything. Our shelf life on most of our products is actually 12 months. But again, we have some certain customers that only want the 150-day window. So as soon as right now our system hits 151 days, all that product will go on hold. And when a customer wants an order, we have the option to quickly take that off hold and allocate it to an order, whereas before we were kind of gambling that we would see that that date code on there. So it's just another back check for us that allows us to with our planning department to look at what's there, what's on hold, and what's available for stock and what's available to the customers. The time it saved us it's incredible.
Fran, anything to add?
No, nothing.
Okay, and then one other one. Can anyone talk to like a cost savings from actually doing this as well, rather than just time savings? The actual cost savings from having such efficiencies.
Well, if we do allocate the incorrect product, even if it's out by a day, when we're sending to Target in the U.S., if we send a lot of 600 date code, 600 cases in a date code, and the customer doesn't want it because it's out by a date, we're looking at basically disposing of that product. It's left our care. It's gone into a carrier. It's now gone onto a dock at another warehouse, and by the time we pay for the cost of that coming back to us and storage fees and fuel charges, the savings there speak for themselves. And like I said, we have our system set pretty lean where it's at 150 days. just so it gives us, again, that back check of, and that safety check of knowing, hey, you know what, this could expire soon or closer to the date. So.
Right. Well, Sean, thank you very much. Friend, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedules today to do this. That concludes the questions from our audience. So on the screen's friends details, and you'll get this within the presentation as well. Plus, there's a WMS LinkedIn group that is starting to get a lot of activity on LinkedIn. So if anyone wants to join that as well, the link is there, or you can just actually search for in the groups on LinkedIn for WMS. But on behalf of AFS Technologies, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to participate in today's webinar. As a reminder, all participants will receive an email in the next day to a downloadable link to this presentation, and other complimentary resources are available at afsi.com. Again, thank you again for joining us. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your week, and we will speak to you all again soon. Thanks very much.